當我講呢篇信息嘅時候，其實大家仲有幾個禮拜就已經去到踏入9月啦。但係問題而家你知唔知道今年呢？而家越嚟越多嘅資訊去話俾你聽呢，今年呢，呢一個嘅 Shemitah 啦，即係呢個安息年呢，似乎呢由我哋用牛頓嘅佢自己早年啊去，因為牛頓其實係個釋經家嚟噶嘛，除咗佢講牛頓地心吸力啊呢個科學家，其實佢好出名，佢最叻就係釋經。佢其實都有講到關於今年嘅。用佢個方法去計咧，都計到今年嘅9月呢一個嘅即係以色列嘅新年嘅時候咧，其實咧係主翻嚟嘅日子嚟嘅。你知唔知啊？佢或者計錯，或者佢計啱咗，但係只不過唔係主翻嘅日子，係被提嘅日子，或者一啲好大嘅事發生啦。而事實上，今年亦係以色列人咧喺立國之後咧第7個嘅安息年嚟嘅。咁所以變咗喺網上好多嘅資料咧，我哋曾經都有一個 video 會講到關於我哋從好多呢啲嘅戲啊，好多呢啲當中，唔知點解都會提到關於今年嘅923嘅，係咪9月23號啊？咁但係咧，而家咧有更多嘅資訊俾我哋顯示到咧，今年係真係好特別嘅年，係 Shemitah， 係一個好特別，好多事發生。因為最特別就係話咧，我哋所講嘅世界上嘅所有領袖咧，都喺今年咧嘅9月23號左右咧。係全部 schedule 晒，佢哋特別要去做一啲嘢嘅。
Jeff Berwick 出生於1970年11月24日，係一位加拿大籍嘅著名企業家，亦係一位信奉經濟自由意志主義同無政府資本主義分子。1994年 ，Jeff Berwick 23歲時已經成為咗一位非常出色同富有嘅投資顧問，但卻喺此時決定放棄投資顧問嘅工作。當時眾人都認為佢係瘋狂啦。其後 ，Jeff Berwick 成立 Stockhouse 傳媒股份有限公司，卻成為當時加拿大最活躍嘅金融網站之一。直至2002年，佢一直擔任行政總裁一職。此舉喺今日睇嚟係非常有眼光，因為佢完全睇準咗互聯網呢個大趨勢。由佢創辦嘅網站，市值曾高達2.4億美元，即18.7億港元。佢卻將公司放售，賺取大筆金額。2013年喺智利高爾特峽谷 Curacaví Region of Chile 內一個 John Colbin's Gold Gouge Chile Project 中，更成為咗當中最成功嘅推廣人員。同時，佢亦係一位經濟分析師，經常喺財政節目中分享對未來經濟嘅預測，內容極具前瞻性同劃時代性，往往為人帶嚟巨額嘅回報。例如，比特幣喺2009年時只係價值約3美元一個 ，Jeff Berwick 當時已經鼓勵人買入比特幣。後嚟，比特幣喺2011年11月29日上升至歷史高位嘅1124.766美元，回報達374倍之多。再者，佢亦係其中一個創造世上第一台比特幣櫃員機嘅人。2009年 ，Jeff Berwick 開辦咗一個名為 The Dollar Vigilant 簡稱 TDV 嘅財經網站，發佈對未來世界經濟走向嘅分析。
What you are about to hear may scare you. If you are not ready for information that will not only change your worldview, but perhaps your life completely, then you should turn off this video now. An event with profound implications takes place in September 2015, a 3,000-year-old mystery called the Shemitah. Some are aware of it, most aren't.Financial elites on Wall Street call it the end of a 7-year cycle. What they either don't know or won't say, however, is that these endings are historically disastrous, and this one may be even worse. There are signs, both economic, financial, and military, that this September 2015 could change everything about the way we live and work and even survive.Unfortunately,While Shemitah may formally end in September, its ramifications could expand with considerable destructiveness. While many are not aware of the specifics, people are uneasy. A Washington Examiner article reported that 72% in a recent poll feared an economic crash and that those expressing concern were at the highest level ever. Please watch this video to understand what you need to know and how to take action to protect yourself and your loved ones. It may be the most important 30 minutes you've spent this year, or any year. One man has been consistently making calls about the future in finance, money, and politics for decades. They called him crazy when, at 23 years old, he quit his investment advisory position at a leading bank in 1994 to start an internet company, saying the internet would never catch on.
Now, you might recall Canadian financial information website provider Stockhouse Media. Now the company has received a multi-million-dollar windfall. Canadian media mogul Conrad Black's Hollinger International took a 9% stake in the internet startup.
This evening's guest is Jeff Berwick. He is the president of Stockhouse.com. This is a large company that has had a phenomenal growth rate. They're now in 5 countries. They are receiving now 60 million hits a month.
And this is really the final wake-up call. If they don't know now, they really just will never know. The internet is going to be the only medium standing at the end of the day.
His company went on to be worth a high of $240 million, and he sold the company in 2002. After traveling the world, partly by sailboat before sinking it in El Salvador, he went on to visit nearly 100 countries, making movies in China and living in Thailand. By 2009, he began a free market newsletter warning of a complete US dollar collapse within a decade. Again, they called him crazy.
When we last spoke last January, you weren't very optimistic about the global economy. What would you say about the state of the economy now?
This system is in collapse, and it's unbelievable, and most people don't even see what's going on.
So what are the top things that are grabbing your attention right now?
Mostly, it's how the U.S. government and the Federal Reserve are reacting to all the problems. We're in the last days of this financial system in the U.S. This is Zimbabwe. This ship is going down. This is the USSR in 1989.
Well, lots of people wouldn't believe you. They'd say, you know what, you're out in left field. You're nuts.
In the meantime, in 2011, he told his subscribers to start getting into Bitcoin at $3. It soon went to over $200, and he was called crazy yet again.
Joining us now is the chief editor of the Dollar Vigilante, and he's a Bitcoin entrepreneur, Jeff Berwick. Jeff, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Let me get this clear here. Your side of the Bitcoin story is that you put out, or you want to put out, ATMs. So you're the point of contact where I put in my US greenback dollars and I get back Bitcoins. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm sure that in the past week people have said to you, Jeff, it's a scam. Answer the question.
After Bitcoin rose from $100 in April, it rose to $400 by November.
Bitcoin's a new evolving currency, and because of that, and it's a very small market. The total market cap of Bitcoin is $1 billion. So we're only back to where Bitcoin was at the start of this month, so it has been quite volatile.
Since that time, Bitcoin rose to over $1,000 and is now back below $500, but has been very volatile, as he warned.
Well, it started the year at 15, so it's very volatile, it's very small, and so people are really trying to gauge if this is going to become a real currency. If it becomes more and more used as a real currency, it will continue to go up as demand goes up.
然而喺2015年7月14日 ，Jeff Berwick 喺其網站同 YouTube 上載咗一段影片，內容如同又華牧師所分享有關 Webbot 對2015年經濟嘅預測。呢個經濟嘅預測就係由2015年9月15日開始，喺短短2個月內，全球將會出現全面性嘅經濟大崩潰，亦會令全球社會同政治出現大動盪。
Now, however, he is making his latest, most dire prediction. He is calling for a major disruptive event in not only the markets, but possibly in politics, the money system, and your way of life. All to come possibly as soon as September 15th, 2015.
It is a pleasure to have back on with us world-famous adventurer, entrepreneur, investor, and writer, Jeff Berwick. This may be our most important show yet, so let's get right into this, as you're not going to want to miss what Jeff Berwick has to say today. And Jeff, you've never been shy about telling people your opinions, but your latest pronouncement may be your boldest yet.
Yeah, it is, but I really think now is the time to be bold. I found that most people don't know about this information, and I think it needs to be shown the light of day. I guess I should start by saying that I've never made such an exact short-term prediction, but when people see the evidence I've uncovered, they'll understand why I believe a massive event could happen as early as this September.
Give us some background on how you came to this conclusion.
Well, it started out quite simply. In 2010, I stated that the US dollar would collapse within the next decade.
Jeff Berwick 指出，美國嘅國債已經達到天文數字嘅1800萬億美元 （18 trillion US dollar）。喺2008年金融海嘯中，美國政府曾進行量化寬鬆政策，史無前例地無限量發行美元。呢個所謂嘅挽救經濟行動，令美國經濟一去不回頭。
To me, the path was quite clear. You just look at the total debt of the U.S. government, now at $18 trillion, and its growth, and you can see where this is headed. And when you look further, you can see that even with a monstrous $18 trillion debt, it was only a small part of the story, as so much of the debt and liabilities of the U.S. aren't properly accounted for. Today, the amount of debt and liabilities of the U.S. government is over $95 trillion. That's $300,000 per person in the U.S., or $1.2 million in federal government debt and liabilities for every family of four. I'm sure you remember the Great Recession or the financial crisis of 2008. It was very bad. And even George Soros was quoted on it as saying, "We witnessed the collapse of the financial system in 2008. And all they've done, and all they're still doing, is print money to act like it didn't die." But the proof is in the numbers. In 2008, the Federal Reserve announced something they had never done before. They called it quantitative easing. But what it really is printing never-before-seen amounts of money. That money's been sloshing around and has mostly ended up in places like the stock market, which, even as we speak, continues to hit all-time highs. At some point, though, this money printing game has to stop, and the rest of the world knows this is a certainty. And in response, countries around the world have begun to move away from the dollar. China's begun their own bank transfer system, which is the first international payment system to compete with the US dollar-based SWIFT system. There's a worldwide move away from the dollar. They're trying to rush it out to be completed by, of all dates, September 2015. Russia as well has been purchasing gold at record levels, and trade agreements around the world are for the first time in decades being done outside of the US dollar. For this and many other reasons, I've been expecting a collapse in the dollar. It's baked in the cake, and I've been telling my subscribers to prepare for this since 2010. Back in 2010, I said that we probably had 5 and no more than 10 years left before the collapse. We're now 5 years in, and I'm seeing the first signs of a major collapse coming this fall, and part of my reason for this has come with my discovery of the Shemitah.
但係點解 Jeff Berwick 能夠指出2015年9月15日呢個指定性日期將會發生經濟大崩潰呢？咁樣係因為有極多方面嘅印證，而最重要嘅證據竟然係嚟自聖經。佢藉住猶太人基督徒拉比 Jonathan Kane 所寫嘅書，得知到咗2015年9月15日將會係以色列自1967年6月7日重奪整個耶路撒冷嘅控制權後踏入第50年，而第50年就係以色列嘅禧年，神將會取消所有債務並歸還土地俾原主嘅年限。Jonathan Kane 發現原來每逢安息年 Shemitah 就係每隔7年踏入以色列人嘅安息年，世界經濟都會出現大動盪。
但每過50年，踏進以色列人嘅禧年，神不單會為以色列行大事，甚至世界嘅經濟都會出現大崩潰，出現全面重整。而下一次嘅禧年就係由2015年9月15日開始。
Right, this is the part I want to get into. I've heard you speak and write on it recently. It sounds fascinating. Take as long as you want here and just tell us more about the Shemitah.
Sure. Regarding Shemitah, I want to state for the record that my discovery of it has emerged as part of my financial analysis. The Shemitah has religious connotation, but that's not my focus. The point is that there are evidence-based ramifications to Shemitah, and from a practical standpoint, that's what I wish to investigate and address. I'm just looking at the facts of what appears to be happening around September of this year, and that just happens to be the end of the Shemitah year. Whether this is a coincidence or not remains to be seen. And I should also say that I don't necessarily think this September will be the end crisis of all crises. It could be just the beginning of a process that unfolds that takes many years to end in total collapse.
But that said, I first heard of the Shemitah after reading Jonathan Cahn's book, The Harbinger. That book mostly talked about eerie events related to 9/11 and the Shemitah.